Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Hey, local business hackers. I'm your host, Carl Case, Director of Global Business Development at Referrizer, joined today by our second guest of the Healthy Behavior Institute, co-founder and resident behaviorist at Healthy Behavior Institute, Dr. Janine Stichter. Dr. J, welcome to Local Business Hacks.
Thank you, Carl. I'm excited to be here and feel really privileged to get to talk to you for your audience.
Well, guys, I'm beyond stoked. Dr. J, talk to us about your journey in teaching and everything that brought you to this point in your career.
Yeah, so I was one of those people that always knew that I was interested in how people think and tick. And when I was heading into college, I thought, I would do like interior design or something with environments and flow and all that stuff. And then I went to design school and realized that I couldn't afford to go to like a really good design school. And I didn't want to put flowered couches in people's living rooms. So I was like, okay, I need to do something slightly different. So I got a series of part-time jobs, and long story short, realized that I was pretty okay at problem solving, helping people figure out what's blocking them from moving in the direction that they want, overcoming obstacles, things like that. So I did more school than I had planned in order to kind of be the expert in that. So I got my doctorate in behavior analysis, which just means I specialize in human behavior and behavior change. And what I love about it is I'm very much a forward thinker, optimistic person. And this really allows me to kind of go with a strength-based approach about how people think and looking at what they already have in place, what their strengths are, their uniqueness, and how do I help fortify that towards the direction that they want to go, or the next challenge or an obstacle that they want to kind of figure out and work around. And at least back when I was learning things and kind of starting in the profession, there was just a lot of emphasis on people being broken or what's wrong or what we have to fix. And I just didn't resonate with that, because I just think our uniquenesses are what we need to celebrate. And so I'm really passionate about really helping people figure out the best way to do something for them that's not about sacrifice. It's not about making things harder or extreme, but just enjoying life and still progressing and evolving along the way. And so through that, I ended up doing some large scale research, some teaching, I ran some clinics, and I do some executive coaching for leaders and businesses. But in the last several years, I really kind of paired my talents with my partners at Healthy Behavior Institute so that we could really help fitness professionals better understand how to tap into people's, look beyond symptoms of challenges and look at the root causes of why they're stuck in their fitness journeys or their health journeys, or they're not going where they are, and just helping them help their clients move through that. And that's just been such a joy. And I've gotten to meet and work with people like yourself and Referrizer, and just such a fabulous community of professionals that care a lot about people.
Well, thank you for doing what you do. I wish that there was millions of you out there, but the beauty is that millions of people can take advantage of what your knowledge is through the Healthy Behavior Institute. And just to give some background to our listeners, I've personally seen firsthand what Dr. J and the Healthy Behavior Institute have done for some of our corporate gyms, and looking at a gym that isn't able to really deliver the results that somebody's looking for due to lack of nutrition, lack of discipline, lack of tracking. Dr. J and her team have solved that problem. So Dr. J, I'd love for you to introduce what the Healthy Behavior Institute is, how people can take advantage of it, and truly, why I believe every fitness brand should be utilizing a tool like this.
Yeah, I'd love to. And thank you for that. And what we really created the Healthy Behavior Institute to do, and even in the name, healthy behavior, we're just focusing on the healthy behaviors. Again, it's not to what's broken or what's wrong. There's so many people that have self-esteem issues and self-efficacy issues around their journey, and so many amazing professionals that are trying to help. And we know that the industry's marketing attempts at times and just tendency towards extremes really can, although entertaining at times, really kind of thwart fitness professionals' ability to affect the change that they all got into the field for. So the Healthy Behavior Institute, we really started it as a platform to educate and support fitness professionals in understanding their clients a little bit better, creating some very effective, efficient systems with all the knowledge we know about behavior change, and educating fitness professionals on how to run these systems within their fitness facilities, or whether they're an online coach or whether they're brick and mortar, so that they can get beyond the extremes or the generics or all of those things that, again, the fitness industry sometimes tends to market to, or the lay people. So with that, we've created the 360 Wellness Behavior Coaching, which is just looking at all facets of a person, because what they're doing in the other 23 hours of the day when they're not in the gym or training is super important. So how do you have those conversations without going past your scope, with helping ask questions that allow the clients to really better give you the information? Teaching fitness professionals about how to do this as a separate service and off the training floor, so that you have that dedicated time. Just like when we go to our medical doctors, we know we'll probably have 15 minutes with them. We're thinking ahead. We might write down our meds or our subs, or we write down questions, or we plan for it. Our recall's better, and we're targeted and focused. The same thing needs to happen in the health and wellness industry, because when I'm doing sets and reps and you're asking me about my personal life, or I'm talking to you about my nutrition and you're like, hey, you might want to get a smoothie in the morning, just throw fruits and vegetables in and all that. That's great if I'm somebody that likes breakfast, if I'm somebody that has time to shop for produce, and if I have a blender. And it's hard to know all of those things while we're also doing squats. So we really created some systems for that, and then also created software that we can do non-scale victories. People need to see progress. They need to recognize when they feel better, their relationships are stronger because they're moving better and feeling better and making healthier choices. And so we really set up some very easy software for clients to participate with their fitness professionals to measure those non-scale victories, because we know that if we're only focused on the scale or the bicep size, we're going to hit a plateau, we're going to hit some frustrations, and all of us, our families are important, our friends are important, our work, our careers, our overall livelihoods, and how we want to live our lives. So we need to measure the success in those areas. And so for us, it's really about being a support for fitness professionals there, giving that education, and then helping them implement that in their facilities. And we are a very connected group at the Healthy Behavior Institute. We want to talk to fitness professionals. We want to figure out what's unique about your gym, your facility, your coaching, and how we can support you in that. So our website, Healthy Behavior Institute, if you go to that and then /connect, then we have a special page just for you. Connect with us, talk with us. I'd love to hear your story, what you need. And you've taken the time to listen to this. You're obviously connected with Referrizer. You are a professional in this field that cares a lot. And so we want to give that back to you and support you.
Thank you, Dr. J. Take advantage of that, people. healthybehaviorinstitute.com/connect. I think it's an interesting topic to think about. And if you need help, Dr. J and the team will set you up. So thank you, Dr. J. I would love to transition into, correct me if I'm wrong, you were teaching for over 20 years?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that mixed with what you're doing now is truly incredible. So I'd love to hear from you. What are some stories that you hope no one has to pay the price to learn that maybe we can share on this show to really give people some juice as a look into your life and things that you've experienced?
Yeah, so I think one of the lessons that I think I learned pretty early, and anytime I can share with someone else, is this notion of knowing yourself and then how that relates to who you partner with. And so I've had a few fair shares of this was not a healthy or effective collaboration. And what I figured out pretty quickly, and I got to figure that out because it's my area and behavior, is like, it's like, why is this happening? This person seems like a really nice person. We collaborate, and then it's just a hot mess, and then things go south. And what happens is, so I tell this to anybody that's running a business or just partnering with anyone or thinking about, is know yourself in the sense of where your strengths are, and then be just super honest about where your challenges are. Are you not good at detail? Are you not good at systems building? What are you great at? And then who you partner with and who you hire should complement your skills. People have this tendency to hire and partner with people that are like-minded, but have like shared interest and shared everything. And that's great. You should have like-mindedness in the direction that you both want to go towards something. But gosh, the number of times, especially early on, where I was like, oh, this will be perfect. And I'm so excited about moving in this direction or running this project or this type of thing. And at the end of the day, I'm like, this is still a really good person. It's not like I was wrong in that regard. But man, they didn't compliment me. So it became a hodgepodge of both of us doing what we thought we were really good at and nobody doing the other stuff that really needs to be done to scale, to be successful and be efficient and effective. And when I say partner, I don't just mean a human. Like if you have a human partner, great, or employees, but also companies that you partner with. Like a Referrizer, like what do I need? What am I not naturally doing in my business that I need? And I think a lot of times, and I ran into this, I thought, and I'll be real honest, like I had a PhD, I was supposed to know a lot of things, right? They tell you like, oh, you've had all this schooling and you're supposed to be so knowledgeable. So I didn't stop and think, what help do I need? I almost had this like imposter syndrome, like I was supposed to already know it and go into that. And so that's always one that I really tell people, like, that is being successful, is knowing your bumpers and who and what you need to support and complement that.
Amen, sister. Preach. I think it's really relevant. Do you mind sharing an example of when that went south for you or how you invested time into something that might not have been beneficial?
Yeah, so years ago, I had developed a program somewhat like the Healthy Behavior Institute, but for a different, and I won't get into specifics, but for a different entity and group. And so somebody approached me and they said, really like what you're doing. And I linked the thought, and I'd love to partner with you and create more of a technology around what you're doing so we could scale it. And I'm like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. More people would be helped and all of these things. And it was a really nice guy. He had worked at Apple. He was highly successful and whatever. So I'm thinking like, there's no way this isn't going to be amazing. Like I get to work with somebody that helped with all this stuff, right? And so we get going on this project, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, this person just gets excited about ideas, but has like zero follow through. And he was supposed to manage the tech team, and I was managing sort of the content team and the creation team. And so my team, I'm good with systems and good with people. So I had really tight systems, and my team was just running on. And my team is coming to me every single day. Like they're making me crazy. I can't. We'd go to these other meetings and nothing would get done, or things would get done that had nothing to do with the project. And everybody's like, oh, isn't this cool? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And on top of that, I had gotten a very large federal grant, like millions of dollars from the feds to run this project. And so I'm like, I can't not deliver. Yeah. So the amount of effort, the amount of workaround that I had to do, the amount of difficult conversations, it was just so draining. And I thought, at the end of the day, we ended up with a good product, but it was a very long several years of my life in doing that. And then I also thought, like, had it been a business that I was trying to run for 10 or 15 years, I wouldn't have survived. Like I would have just at some point said. And so that was really a good example of somebody who had the skill set, who cared about what I was doing and was a visionary. But what we needed from him was some execution and being able to manage a group of people that I didn't know how to manage, the tech guys and gals. And so that was one of those where I was like, all right, lesson learned here. So
yeah, I really appreciate the story. I'd love to know, Dr. J, what is some advice around that you would maybe tell yourself when going into it, or now that you've learned the lesson? What are questions that you look to answer, or just red flags or green flags going into these relationships with maybe software partners or other people that provides context?
Absolutely. When it's an individual, and this is actually something that the Healthy Behavior Institute, we're also offering as an aside because we just want to help people with this. There are some assessments, and they're free ones online. We don't use those. There's a group of assessments that I have access to because I'm a trained professional that help people have common language about who they are and their strengths. And so we do offer that service for people at a much reduced cost because we like to help owners and coaches understand who they are, and then also have people that they want to partner with kind of take those. And for some businesses, we do this for hiring as well, like to help them pick the right people. So if you can do that, whether it's through us or somebody that's qualified, that can be helpful. But when that's not pertinent, because like you're partnering with a software company or a group or an entity, or you just can't, one of the things, a couple of questions that I really have is, are there people to be managed? And are there systems in place? And who's going to develop and also make sure those systems are run? And those can be two different people. Some people are really good at developing systems, but aren't really good at managing people within those systems. Other people are really good at managing people with those systems, but they don't have the desire to sit and create the system and the detail and the extensiveness. So who's going to manage? What are the systems? Who's creating the systems? Who's making sure that they're followed through, which then also leads to culture. The other thing that I like to do is talk to people about their pace. So if I'm partnering with an entity and they're like, yes, we're going to do this and we're going to help you get those type of things. Okay, well, what time frame do you think that will take? How quickly do you? Now, some people like to exaggerate time frames because they think it sounds better. But I usually like to peel that onion back a little bit and say like, oh, so the last person you partnered with, how long did that take? Or things like that, because I know my pace and I tend towards to be a bit of I work a lot and I'm always thinking about, we can get this done and then kind of do this. And so if I don't know that they're not at the same pace, that doesn't mean I can't work with them, but it's really important to know that up front. So I'm not frustrated, or they don't think that I'm going too fast and rushing things, but we have that dialogue so that we're on the same page in regards to that pace. And then sometimes I ask kind of what ideal days are, how do you set up your meetings, things like that. And that gives me a sense of just sort of, if they're like, oh, we'll just get on a call and we'll figure it out when we get there. That's different than the person that's like, we'll have weekly calls and we'll spend 20 minutes on this. And so that's just those little clues that I get and questions that I ask that can be really insightful. Whether you partner with them or not, it just helps set expectations. And so much of people's conflicts and challenges are unmet expectations because one person had one in their head and somebody else had a different one, and they just weren't communicated.
Yes, I'm sitting here kind of speechless because I 100% agree.
I always say hire slow and fire quickly. And a lot of people do the opposite, and they get excited about a hire, they just grab them, and then firing, it's, oh, next week. And that's super important to a culture and work. And people have this, they feel bad about firing or they find it aversive. And firing does have a negative connotation, but a lot of times you're really giving that person a gift, because if things aren't going well, they're not in the right seat, they're not in the right position, they're not happy, it's not working for you. And people really underestimate the impact it can make on a business when somebody that's not a good fit remains. So.
We can talk about that on another episode. You know, that domino effect is detrimental to every aspect of your business, from internal to your consumers to your members and so on and so forth. So thank you for that, Dr. J. Love to get a little personal if that's cool with you. Talk to me about your morning routine.
Oh, well, it has drastically changed since my kids have moved out of the house. And yeah, so, and I miss them, but I do love my morning routine now, because before it's just, oh my God, and you get out of bed and you're just trying to get everybody out of the household. So one of the things that I really like to do is I get up, I get my 1 cup of coffee for the day, and I typically sit outside and get my lumens in. So I try to look at the sunrise in the morning, and I'm sure my neighbors are like, Janine, you have this like really nice back deck with this pretty view. Why are you sitting in your front stoop, like on a chair in your bathrobe? So, like no class here, but I don't care. But I sit there and I really just like, that's a quiet time. It's a kind of a meditative time without having to say anything or think anything particular, but that's one of my favorites. And then I'll go into my home office and I'll just kind of orient myself to the day. What's on my calendar, anything popped up overnight that I need to be concerned about or to be highly responsive to, and things like that. And then I'm the go get my workout in. I try to get that out in the mornings. And then I just kind of hit the ground running for the rest of my day. But those couple of key things are just really helpful for me and enjoyable. So I feel very blessed to be able to do it.
Hell yeah. I host gratitude dinners weekly at my home. And what I was grateful for the other day was that Mother Nature paints the most beautiful, unique scenery for us twice a day, where the sky is changing and the colors are unique, and just, wow, what beauty. So thank you for sharing that. Dr. J, I got 2 questions for you before we wrap up. First one, what are some of your favorite books that you think everybody listening should definitely get their hands on?
Oh gosh, there's so many, right? One of them is it's called The Culture Code, and it highlights different companies and different leaders and how they've set culture, everything from the big Fortune 500 to athletic teams to in different countries. And it's just fascinating and such amazing examples, all based in behavior science, all the things that we know true, but so different in how they're articulated and manifested. So I find that it's just such a pleasure to read, and such a good book in that regard. There's another book called Primal Leadership that I really like. And then I probably really appreciate, there's another book called Driven, and that's for a unique sector of people, but for those that it really fits, that have that natural like angst, even though they're successful and they're doing a lot. It's just really well written. And the people that I've sent that to who kind of fit that have been like, oh my gosh, that's why this is that clarity. So those would probably be my top 3 right now.
Amazing. Amazing. Dr. J, as a final question, talk to me about a historical figure from the past that you would love to sit down and have a meal with, and what are the conversations that are going to be happening at that table?
Is it okay if they're still alive?
I don't set the rules. I'm just the messenger.
So I think somebody that I am very interested in, would love to have a conversation, would be a Richard Branson. And in large part because he has, and I'll be very honest, he has some characteristics that I don't relate to, but I think are just fascinating and amazing. And part of that is that just unbridled creativity of thinking about it differently and not being concerned about why that hasn't been done or what the limitations or the parameters is. One of the good things about being a behaviorist is I think about a lot of things from a lot of different angles. The downside of being a behaviorist is I think about a lot of things from a lot of different angles. And that can kind of sometimes slow me down and just diving off the edge and going, I got this. And he seems to have that capacity of not caring what others think or what has or hasn't been done, having that kind of a vision, and then also really owning the stuff that didn't work out. And I love that combination, and just trying to ask if there were times where he strengthened those perspectives, because my experience with humans, right, is that we can have an initial kernel of a tendency, but we have to grow and expand that. So I'd really love to understand more about how he strengthened those, what experiences reinforce certain things and not the others, and how he builds in his passion for humanity, which he clearly has, with his kind of empires, and kind of how he balances that. So those would be some of the things that I would be fascinated with.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Dr. J. What's the best way for people to stay connected with you post podcast outside of healthybehaviorinstitute.com/connect?
So LinkedIn, I'm on there as Janine Stichter, and I'd love you to connect that way. And also, people are always welcome to email me. I'm highly responsive. And so Janine at healthybehaviorinstitute.com. Please do reach out. If you have any questions, thoughts, or, hey, you even said this and I'm not sure. If there's any way that I can support you in continuing to do, all of your listeners, those of you that are listening, in all of the things that you're doing to try to help community that you're in be better, do better, please let us know and let me know. And I would love to connect on that.
So wrapping up, people, Dr. J, there to empower you and your members to combat their results and track them so that they stay your lifelong members and go brag to all of their friends, or let their body do the bragging for them. We really appreciate you and our relationship, and thank you for coming on, Dr. J, to spread this amazing word.
Thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business, just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.